All right. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to year-end processes, reports, important dates, and rollover presented by myself, Josie Wilson, Manager of Collections and Resource Sharing. And Lena, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Lena Kelly. I'm the Manager of Technology Services, at least for the next couple of weeks until Stephanie returns.
All right. So today we are going to take you through a short webinar. It won't be too long. I do have the chat open on a different window, so I'll try to keep up with that as we go. But we have lots of times for questions. So if you want to ask them throughout, that's fine. But I will also kind of scroll back through the chat at the end to try to make sure I haven't missed anything. Okay, so in today's webinar, by the end of this webinar, we hope that you will understand our year-end timelines, complete orders before the year-end cutoff, identify which reports we will be sending to you in December to help you reconcile your orders for the year, and be prepared to run your annual report in January. So that's what we're going to cover. I know some of you are newer managers, and some of you may have just be kind of embarking on this year, but this is a webinar that we run every year. So if you have been here before, you're going to see a lot of the same information. I've just simply changed the dates. But I do think it's a good reminder because we are slightly tweaking some things this year on our end at Yellowhead that have that will possibly extend some of the deadlines this year compared to years past. So I'm going to start today with the CRS portion, and we're going to talk about what is year-end in collections and resource sharing. Well, essentially, it is wrapping up all of our orders, getting them processed and sent to the vendors, as well as getting everything received that the vendors have for us and sending it out to you and making sure that it is reflected in your allotment balances and that we've billed you or invoiced you for anything before we roll over into the next year. We do a deep dive into all of the funds and the order, the status of all of the orders that have been put in this year and anything hanging around still from 21 or 22. We have a lot of back and forth with vendors during this, cleaning up ordered and long back ordered items and ensuring that everything is accurate at rollover so that you don't lose any funds, because we roll over lots of free balances every year, especially if you've sent in some additional allotment dollars. We go through and do a very meticulous double check before we roll over and after to make sure that all of those funds come across properly, and backing up in other systems too to make sure that we have record of all of those funds. Then we do some setup for 2024. We put your new allotment money in. We work on getting your standing orders all set up, and I'll talk more about standing orders in a couple of minutes. And then that final piece is rolling over anything that's still outstanding into next year. So specifically for acquisitions, we are ending the fiscal year of 2023. We halt ordering to reconcile accounts, and we encourage you to follow a similar timeline for the most accurate information. So what this means is that when you send in your last of your orders for 2023, that you let your bookkeepers or admin staff or whoever at your libraries know that that was your last order for 2023, and anything moving forward will be for 2024, so that in Polaris it looks correct and then on your end it looks correct. We reconcile your additional allotment contributions to make sure that we've added it all into Polaris correctly, and we do that here with our senior accountant. And then we reconcile all of the digital content contributions, so making sure that we have purchased all the US dollars and then even purchased a lot of those carts. And then we do some of our own reconciliation with our own budgets in HQ collections, so our e-resources and our kits budgets and things like that. So standing orders setup. So some of you may have standing orders. Some of you may be saying, I've never heard of this before. And some of you may not have them at all. So what standing orders are is they're a really nice way to not have to do collection development in certain areas. If you were a smaller library with a small budget, or if you're a large library that doesn't have time to keep track of every single new Geronimo Stilton book, then you can set up a standing order. There is, Lena, can you just look at the question in the chat and see if you can grab an invite?
Sure, I can do that.
Okay, thanks. Sorry, we just had a question about somebody not able to get in.
Oh, Brenda, where?
Brenda from Wetaskiwin, Brenda Schmidt.
Oh, okay, sure.
Thanks, Lena. So standing orders. What happens with these is you say at the beginning of the year, I want the Geronimo Stilton series, that would be in the juvenile series and paperback spreadsheet. And then whenever, and it will kind of predict how many the publisher is planning on publishing in 2024. And then you say, I want all of those, or I want all of a certain graphic novel series. And then as that gets published, it just comes in for you from Yellowhead, and we take that off of your allotment, or we bill you direct for it, depending on what you choose. And then you get that new book automatically. So it's kind of like a hot list for paperbacks, is how you could put that into your frame of reference, if you understand hot list, where you're pre-ordering popular series or certain genres of paperbacks so that you're getting them right when they come out, instead of having to pay attention on the super forthcoming, like, oh, there's a new Geronimo Stilton, oh, there's a new graphic novel, oh, I should buy that. You just know that you'll be getting that throughout the year automatically. The juvenile and teen series paperbacks was a little bit odd for 2023 in that we didn't get the final sheet for that, I think, until like March or April. It was really, really late this year. So I'm hoping that it's not as late next year. I think that was still a little bit of a COVID hangover, with publishers not deciding how many things or which series they were going to be publishing for 2023. So that's why it was so late. But I'm hoping it wasn't on our vendor end, it was on the publisher side, because they are only as fast as the publisher sends them the information. And that's when they can get their spreadsheet all done up. So I'm hoping that's going to be sooner this year. Adult paperback form should be coming to my inbox very soon. And that one isn't by series, but is by genre. So for instance, if you know you have really committed Western fans in your patron base, then maybe you want to say, hey, I'm going to bring in 3 new Western paperbacks every month. And then I know that that collection development box is kind of ticked off, and I'm just going to get those every month, and I can put those on display for those patrons. It's also really good if you have some significant gaps in your paperback genres, or in your teen genres. It's great if you're a newer manager and you're just getting started into collection development to just say, okay, now I've automatically got some new things coming in every month. So all a really good entry point for a lot of different reasons. And we can get these set up for you as soon as we get the spreadsheets out. And if you don't know your current setup, ask now. Now is a really good time to email us. You can email us at orders, at catalog, or at AskYRL, all at yrl.ib.ca. And you can say, hey, what's my current standing order setup? If you're not sure, and then Janet or Sophia will look that up and get back to you. And then you could even give us a heads up and say, hey, I think I want to participate in these, or hey, I think I want to cancel all of these for next year. And we can kind of put you on a bit of a watch list so that we know that you're going to want changes, whether it be to add these in, take them away, or edit your current orders. You can give us a heads up too. Good question, Christine. Yes, you can join in on standing orders anytime during the year. And you can also cancel them at any time during the year. The only tricky thing is that it has to be at a certain time in the month, because you might not see, like, for instance, with the adult paperbacks, ULS pulls those titles the first week of every month. So if you let me know in the second week of February, hey, I want to cancel my standing orders, well, your February ones were already picked, so it won't take effect until March. And I know this year we had to make some changes for another library with their juvenile and teen series ones. And for whatever reason, and I think this was part of publisher issues again, we kept getting some for them, and it took us a few months to kind of get that all smoothed out. But just know that if it's on the publisher or vendor side, then we can return the items and it's no cost to the library. But usually I give you a pretty good heads up, like, hey, this won't take effect for until the next month, this change or this deletion. So you might have to accept another month's worth with the adult paperbacks. When it comes to the Juvenile series, if it keeps going past 1 month, then I know that that's a different issue, and I'll get that stuff returned for you, so you won't be charged. Even if it comes to your library by accident, I either redirect it or get it returned. Okay, and if that didn't happen for you this year, where you got something and I didn't redirect it, then make sure you let me know, so that I can get that fixed up before the end of the year. Okay, so I think that's all about standing orders. You'll probably have more questions as you'll see the spreadsheet start to come up, and you can always just email in your questions or give us a call. So this is our timeline for this year, and I hope I took out all the 2022s. I tried to remember to do that. So if you see 2022 anywhere in here, just assume it's 2023. So for this year, we are extending our ordering deadline to December 15th this year. So you can submit orders up until December 15th. Orders will no longer be accepted after 4:30. So after our workday is closed on Friday, December 15th. That's going to be a hard stop. Anything that comes in over the weekend or after 4:30 on December 15th, we will hold on to for the new year and consider it 2024. Friday, December 15th will also be the final shipping day for new books. In the past, these things have been about a week or two apart, but we have, because the CRS team has just been learning so much, and we've all been really working together hard. Janet and Sophia, Carrie, Ashley last year were just great in helping me to streamline a lot of these processes. So we're able to shorten up some of these deadlines this year, or lengthen them, I guess would be more the case. Shorten them on our end, lengthen them for you, so that we can tighten up our processes a little bit. So, and this is really due, I can't say enough, this is really due to the CRS team supporting this year-end process. They've been really instrumental in helping with that. So you'll get your final shipping for new books on, it says December 15th, but essentially it will be that following week, that December 19th to 22nd is when you'll get your final books. It means that we'll have them all put in the bins by December 15th. So they'll be all shipped to you that final week of December, so that you can get all of your invoices and all of that. And then we will be rolling over the week of December 19th to 22nd. I'm hoping we roll over on the 20th. That's my loose plan. And then we will be emailing you out your final reports for acquisitions. So your lists of things still on order, all of your lists of things that you've received during the year, and any cancellations for the year. We'll be emailing that out to you probably between the 19th and the 21st, because we have to run all of those before we roll over. And then I have given myself a little bit more time this year to get your allotments and your funds, and said January 15th, just because I am taking a little bit of vacation after we roll over, and I won't be back to work until January 10th. But I am hoping that I'm going to under promise and over deliver and actually have all your allotments in by the 20th. That's what I'm crossing my fingers and hoping, but I don't want to promise that, because sometimes with different things, I have to kind of wait till the new year. So allotments might not be in there. That doesn't mean that you can't still spend. You know you're going to be getting allotment, so you can still put in orders. If you're at all worried, or if you're a new manager and you're not quite sure how much you get for allotment, send me an email between now and Christmas, and I will send you an estimate of what your allotment will be so that you kind of know, okay, I have roughly this amount to spend if you want to start putting in orders before January 15th. And then note, as per usual, we've been offering this the last few years. You can create and submit any orders in CCD after the 15th, or send in ULS carts to us if you want between the 15th and the 10th of January. But we will not be putting them in as 2023 orders. They will be in as 2024 orders. And we're giving ourselves a few days at the beginning of the year to get those in, because it has been people have really liked that. We've seen a lot of libraries really taking advantage and doing a lot of ordering between that week of Christmas and New Year's. I feel like maybe for some of you who are doing acquisitions, that's a quieter week, and people tend to send in a lot of orders. So we need a few days in January to get all that stuff in. So just an FYI on that. Okay, so this is the big important slide. If you take nothing away today, just write down December 15th. That's a really important date. And then January 15th. That's another important date. So you need to get all your orders in. You'll receive your new books after December 15th, no more after that for 2023. And then January 15th will be the hard deadline for the allotment. But if you need any information about allotment before then, please just let me know. Okay, so year-end reports. I already talked about this a little bit. So we send you these following 3 reports at the end of the year. We run them for you and email them to you, because if these reports are not run within a certain window of time, they are not accurate. So we make sure that we're done all of your ordering for 2023. We've received everything and we've billed you for everything, and we run these reports right before we roll over, so that all activity is halted and it is an accurate snapshot of all of these things: the on-order report, the canceled items, and the fund expenditure, which is what you actually received in 2023. Once we roll over in Polaris to the new fiscal year, it is really challenging for us to get an accurate read on that last report, that fund expenditure report, because for whatever reason, that rollover process it causes a little confusion when you're trying to go back into the following or to the previous year. It's not impossible. However, it is a lot easier for everybody here, and I think for your own peace of mind, if we do this to get the most accurate data for you. So this way, even if, let's say, a manager changes halfway through the year next year or something like that at your library, and they go, oh my gosh, where is this from last year? We save them all, so I can easily resend it. So even if you miss the email from Sophia or Janet or Carrie or Jackson this year, because they did all the emailing last year, if you miss those emails, you can always ask us in the new year, and then we can just send it knowing that it is accurate and the right data is included. For the detailed one, it may include some back-ordered items. If you're worried about that, you can ask us any questions. The back-ordered isn't such an issue this year as it was last year. We had a lot of long back-ordered things that we had to clean up last year, but this year it's not as bad. We kind of did all that cleanup from COVID. And then with the canceled items, there is no why in there as to why they were canceled, because there is a myriad of reasons why they could be canceled, both from the vendor side, the publisher side, etc. If you are wondering why something has been canceled, or if you're wondering, is it going to come out in the future or whatnot, just email us at catalog, at orders, or at AskYRL, and we will let you know the best we can the why about that. Okay, funds. So if you use any of these funds, you will get separate reports for most of your funds. I think there's one set of reports that I can't remember right now that's by library. I think it's on order. And then the rest will be by fund. So if you use allotment, you'll 100%, everybody has allotment. So you will all get the reports for allotment. If you do additional allotment, meaning you're sending in checks or EFTs into Yellowhead, you'll get the expenditures, on orders, and canceled for that. And then same with Bill Direct, we'll send you all of those reports for that fund as well. Now, if you're new and you're wondering what some of this means and you're not sure how to use additional allotment or Bill Direct, once again, send us a note and we can give you a call or shoot you an email or come out and talk to you about this. Multiple funds, I said this, if you use multiple funds, which most of you do, you'll receive a report for each one. Okay, few frequently asked questions. Do I lose my allotment if anything is left unspent? No, not at all. And same with additional allotment, none of that goes away. All account balances and on order or encumbered rolls over. Just as like a heads up, if you have not spent any allotment this year, now is about the time of year that I send you an email to say, hey, maybe you could spend some of your allotment. But I don't think we've really had that crop up as much this year as we did in the past couple of years, just because everyone's kind of back up mostly to full staff and doing normal spending. There are other regions that do different things with unspent allotment. So let me just say this, that if you want to spend your if you want allotment to continue to be spent locally by your library on books, please spend it. Leaving it unspent does not help. It does not help anything. You're better off to spend it. Because other regions have had to go in different directions because their libraries aren't spending. But I know that's not a problem for people in Yellowhead. Everybody's a pretty good spender, which is good. What happens to the items still on order? These items get rolled over as encumbrances. So if you see that big long word encumbrance, that's what that means, into the new fiscal year. And if they don't come in, then they'll get canceled, or usually they come in the first couple months, unless they're hot list, and then they'll come in when they come in. What if I want to make another overdrive contribution? So the deadline for submitting funds is December 8th. And the deadline for picking titles, if you want to pick some titles, is December 15th. I have quite a few libraries who have already sent in some overdrive money, who I've been in contact with about this. But if you are kind of going, oh, I think we want to make an overdrive contribution, make sure you get us that EFT or that check by December 8th. And if you don't think you can meet that deadline, please give me a heads up that your municipality or board is thinking of sending something in, so that I can make a note and just look for it, so that I can get that in before I roll over. And how do you submit extra funds as additional allotments? You need to submit checks or EFTs by Friday, December 8th. So essentially, if you're sending us money, get it to us as soon as you can. And if you want to participate in picking titles to spend your overdrive money, just let us know make sure you do that by the 15th, and you'll probably need to give me a heads up if you don't already have an account in Overdrive Marketplace to do that. I can set one up for you. Okay, how does year to date work? So this was in here because this was asked a few years ago. So year to date is a piece that we use to calculate year to date circulation, and this will get switched in January. So right now there's previous year to date and current year to date. So previous year to date is 2022. When that switches in January, previous year to date then becomes 2023, and current year to date is 2024. New allotment will appear by January 15th, hopefully sooner, but that's the hard deadline. And how is your allotment calculated? You are going to receive an allotment letter near the end of January that will outline the funds allocated to your library by boards or municipalities in your geographic region or area. And it is going to look a little bit different this year, because in the past, we've just totaled all of that allotment together and just told you how much. Whereas this year, I'm actually going to separate it out and show you how much you're getting from the different municipalities. So for instance, those of you who are near summer villages will be most impacted by this. Your allotment letter might be 3 pages or 2 pages, because it will outline, Summer Village of Sunset Point gave you this much. Summer Village of Val Quentin gave you this much, and then that'll total up at the bottom. We've had some more questions about that at the board level this year, so I'm just going to make some improvements to our letters so that that's a little bit clearer to folks right away. And please, please share these letters with your board chairs and with your boards. We send them to the library managers. We don't send them to the board chairs because you are the best contact. Because I know that a lot of board chairs change in the fall and in the new year, and we may not have that information up to date yet, or we may not know about the changes before I do these letters. So when you get these letters with your allotment, please share them with your board chairs as soon as you can, because it's really good for them to also see that breakdown of where the allotment is coming from. Okay, and now I've probably talked too much and I'll throw it over to Lena.
Great, thanks, Josie. I'm going to need you to advance the slides. But yeah, I'm going to talk about some dates to keep in mind for technology services, especially around reporting and annual reports. So as mentioned, as Josie mentioned, the January 1st, the ILS does roll over. So if there's stats you want to gather for this previous year around year to date type things, that will change January 1st. So I know we always have questions in January about like, oh, I want to see the 2 years ago or whatever. So if you want to keep those stats somewhere, I would suggest you run those reports before January 1st. But the biggest piece of new year work that you all have to do is the annual report. So the annual report is an opportunity to share with the PLSB some of the statistics and use of your library, different things going on. I won't say every year, but sometimes they'll ask for different things. And the report that we've built in Polaris is built to answer those questions. So you'll see in some of the frequent, I don't know, I might have taken the frequently asked questions out of here, but some people will say, can I run the annual report every month? It's not really intended to show you a monthly count or monthly increase in things. It's kind of meant to be run once a year, and it's not going to change every time you run it. So for those of you who've been around for a while, you know that the way we run annual reports changed last year. It changed from Yellowhead emailing them out to you going into Polaris and running them. It's going to stay that way this year. All the instructions for running the annual report are on the intranet, but that site hasn't been up. Oh yeah, thank you, Josie. That site hasn't been updated yet because we don't have the compiled stats for 2023 yet. So once Andrew and I work on that and have all the spreadsheets ready for you with all of 2023, we'll change over that page in the intranet. But the instructions for how to do it will stay the same. Can you just go back to the last slide for a second there, Josie? Sorry, I'm all over the place today, guys. Yeah, the other thing about the annual report is it is tied to your operating grant. So submitting that annual report in a timely manner means that you will get your operating grant in a timely manner. Yeah, so important business. We'll advance ahead to the next slide. Thank you. So where you can find information about, as I mentioned, about last year's annual report and how to run it, which will remain the same for the 2023 annual report, is you go on to intranet, the reports and statistics tab. There's a link there to the PLSB website and the LibPass login, so you don't have to go hunting for those things. And there's instructions there if you don't know your LibPass login, how to get a hold of that information. That information comes from the PLSB. And as I mentioned, all this will be updated in January when we return from the holidays. I have a tentative date of January 5th to get that page updated. So I know some people are very, very keen. They want to run their annual report January 1st. If you think you're going to need help from Yellowhead about interpreting anything or looking at it at all, wait till January 5th when we're all back and people are back from vacation, that sort of thing. All right, next slide. Oh, I guess I took out more slides than I thought. There was, I guess I must have taken this slide out, but there was a slide in there about ordering technology services. Did you cover that, Josie? And I just missed it. About if you're ordering technology from us.
I wonder if we didn't unhide it. We might have forgotten to unhide it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're waiting, I know there's been a lot of technology orders that have come in here in the last couple of days. or last couple of weeks. If you're still waiting on technology and you need it to be invoiced this year, please get in touch with us and we'll see what we can do, because some things may not come in the way. Yeah, there we go. Oh, there's the 2 slides I'm thinking of. Yes. So all orders placed now into December may not arrive this year, but if you need items that you're waiting for invoiced in 2023, let us know and we'll see what we could do in terms of getting you that invoice. And then the last little bit here about reports. Yeah, these are just the steps to run the annual report. So you go into Polaris, Utilities, Reports and Notices Custom, and then there's one right at the top called Annual Report. That's the one you'll be running. Again, instructions for this are on the intranet. I have scheduled a webinar January 10th at 2 p.m. Stephanie Thero will be giving that webinar because she'll be back from her maternity leave at that time. I will send out the invite and registration for that annual report webinar shortly. Later today is my hope, so that this will go into greater depth about where to find each of the different types of statistics that your annual report requires. That webinar will be recorded and put on our YouTube channel. If you're curious, you can watch last year's. It's still up there. Yeah, our annual usage statistics. So the annual report doesn't have the annual report that you run in Polaris doesn't have everything you need to complete the PLSB annual report. It just has what's inside Polaris. So there will be some statistics you'll need about e-resources, website analytics, computer usage. You will have to, some of those stats you'll have to get off of our website once we kind of compile them all for the year. The one that always throws people off is computer use. Right now, Yellowhead does not have any way to track how many times patrons log into your computers or use your computer. Some of you have deep freeze or other programs that you can get that information from yourselves. If you just have an open public computer, you're going to have to either count through the year, and I know the year is almost up, so that option is probably gone, or you can count for a week and then multiply that by the number of weeks that you're open in the year to get kind of an estimate. Both of those are acceptable and able to be added to the annual report according to the PLSB's instructions. That's kind of it's a pretty brief section from me because we'll have a more in-depth reporting seminar in January. Are there any questions about annual report or technology ordering?
I will say, because I know we have had, and we have in here today, a lot of newer managers and newer library staff, that if any of this seems intimidating to you right now and you're going, oh my gosh, this is a lot that I have to do over the next little bit, I would really recommend taking a time, like Lena said, to watch the annual report webinar from last year. Even though some of the changes are not changes for this year because they were changes last year, they will still be incorporated in that annual report for this year. And it will just maybe ease some of that and give you a little bit of background. Also, getting the documents from last year that were submitted. So either talking to your board chair about where those might be stored, or looking in the files to figure out where those things are before January would be something else that I would recommend. And if you can't find them, or you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know where any of this is, then maybe getting in touch with us so we can help you, kind of walk through where you might be able to find some of this or give you some ideas. Because the other statistic that you might want to try to keep is like the number of kind of questions that you get, because I think it asks you for like reference questions and directional questions. So you might want to count that for a week in December if you haven't been counting that already. And then also like a rough estimate of a gate count. So how many people are coming into your library? You might want to do a week count of that in December if you haven't done that yet this year. So it is worth it. And that's why we talk about it today, kind of looking at this before January to kind of get ahead of it a little bit so that it doesn't seem as stressful in January.
That's a really great point, Josie. So we have a question from the chat. When is the typical due date of the annual report? I believe it's the end of February.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
But you've got to remember that it has to be approved by your board before you submit it to PLSB. So you can't work to that February 28th deadline. Like you have to look at your board meeting schedule. And if your board meets the second Tuesday of February, then you need to have it done for the second Tuesday of February so that your board can look at it and approve it and your board chair can sign off on it and then submit it, because your board chair actually has to like put in a sign off in LibPass for you to submit it. So this isn't something that can go right to the deadline.
Any other questions? It's showing up in chat.
Okay, it doesn't seem like there's any more. I'll just throw this back up.
I guess I'd say too, with annual report, like we're all here to help you. And if you are lost or intimidated by the giant LibPass and all the things you have to put in there, please call us. We'll help you. We've sat with libraries and helped them fill out every single field over the form, over the phone. If hopefully you don't need that much assistance, but we're here if you do. So just get in touch with Yellowhead and we'll help you out.
Yeah, you're also welcome to come here. We've had in the past too, where we've had libraries come here and kind of set up in or library managers bring a laptop and bring their file folder of stuff and sit in the boardroom. We have the learning lab now. So, I mean, you could even come and sit in our learning lab if you need a quiet place to work. And then you know that a Yellowhead person is just 2 steps down the hallway from you if you have any questions. The other thing to keep in mind, if you're newer to your library, is you're going to need all of your program stats for the year too. So if you started after summer reading club time or in the midst of that, you'll want to ask staff at your library where your summer students stored that information and make sure you have all of that. So it's a good time to start thinking ahead about some of this so that you're not scrambling in January. Brenda, Lena threw that in the chat. So there's the link. Thanks for doing that, Lena, for the last year's annual report webinar in the chat there. Any other questions? Okay, I think I've waited the 7 seconds or however long we're supposed to wait, maybe a few more than that. So we'll sign off and say bye for now. Thank you so much for joining us today. And
to hosts and I maybe sent the link just to hosts and panelists for some reason. Okay, here's the link.
There we go. So I'll give everybody a second to grab that link out of the chat. Yeah, so feel free to contact us if you have any questions about any of this, or if you're concerned. This is part of the reason that we offer this, is to put this on your radar so that if this sounds new or scary or you're unsure, then you know to contact us, and you've got lots of time before deadlines, before all these things are due, to contact us and let us know what you need and how we can help you. So we will have this recording ready, I'm sure, later today. And yes, thank you all again for joining us. It's great to see you all, and have a great rest of your week.